The views expressed in this podcast stems from our passion for the security industry and for the physical security operations. They do not necessarily reflect the views of our employers. Welcome to Security Theater with Scott and Carlos, where we pull back the curtain on the world of security.
I'm Scott Walker, your co-host, with years of experience in the trenches of the military, federal law enforcement, and corporate security.
And I am Carlos Francisco, here to debunk the myths and misconceptions that surround the security industry.
In Security Theater, we dive deep into the realities behind security measures, exposing what's truly effective and what's just for show.
I agree, and we'll tackle controversial topics, interview industry experts, and share stories from our own careers that reveal the often hidden truth about security.
So whether you're a security professional, a curious skeptic, or someone just looking to understand the world of security better, join us every week for a no-holds-barred discussion.
And get ready to see beyond smoke and mirrors. This is Security Theater. Scotty, let's continue on this RFP, right? So this is the third part.
Super important. Now we're going to get into this. Is really behind the curtain stuff where there's a lot of smoke and a lot of mirrors and a lot of sleight of hand going on by our vendors because they're all vying for that big project, that big proposal that you put forward. So now we've had the initial outreach.
Yep.
We've had the due diligence and vetting. Now let's talk about that final RFP interview. This is where they get to dance and sing for you, right?
Yeah. So let's say you started, Scotty, with like 5 security companies. I'll highly suggest you not do any more than that. And you kind of went through the process of getting their feedback, scoring them accordingly. So now you're down to about 3. You know, you kind of kicked out the 2 losers. And now you got the top 3. And what an awesome opportunity for you. What a great opportunity for them, right? It should always be positive. It should never be antagonistic in the interview process. It'd be no different, I think, Scotty, than when you're interviewing for a company. Like the interviewer needs to be like super positive, right? And they need to care about the culture and everything else. Like you shouldn't treat security companies any different. They're going to be your partners here in the future, right? And it's not me versus them. It's a partnership. So what I always suggest is put together 10 questions. Put together 10 questions that you're going to ask the same exact questions to every single security company. That's simple. Because then once they give you an answer to those things, you're able to grade them 1 through 5, and it gives you an idea. And also, again, keeps you out of liabilities trouble, HR, some legal issues, right? No, you measured everybody exactly correct. You had a matrix on how you put it together. That's how you had it, and that's it. By the way, it also keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah.
In case they say, well, you only had this company because you buddies with them or something like that. No, we got a matrix here. I wasn't the only one in that interview process. It was me and everybody else. By the way, get a partner that's totally outside of security that don't have a clue. Have them sit in that interview, right? Get somebody from our obviously vendor management is going to be on the interview process. Get another security partner that's not directly connected to your line of business, you know, and get some folks out there to get this. I like to block out an hour, okay, for an interview. Scotty, it does not have to be an hour. For me, it's like no more than 25-minute presentation, 15 minutes for me to ask questions, and the rest of it is for me to ask more poking questions on what you might have said. That's how I like to do it. I don't know if you ever sat, man, in the interview process through an RFP, and you're literally going to sleep. And they're talking about so many things that has nothing to do.
Totally.
I don't know. You got something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And fortunately, these companies don't exist anymore. On one that comes to mind where I was like, come on, do you even know what we do?
Yeah.
And because what we're looking for in-house, respectfully, I've not been on the vendor side having to pitch, big
Right.
business potentially, the ones that I've been on for millions of dollars is it's easy to sit in the corporate side and be like, pick things apart.
Right.
And so I can't imagine how difficult it is for our vendor partners to sit in there and try and figure out who are you and why am I pitching you. But look, if you're going to be in this industry, you at least know who our CEO is or what we do for a business or where we are located. Because to your point, I've been in the room where they'll start talking about, oh, we do all these cool operations in this part of the world. And you're like, well, we don't have any operations there. So that's cool to hear, but no, we don't need that.
Right.
I've been in the room where senior security leaders have stopped the presenter and said, yeah, we're good. Let's just move on, and that's embarrassing for them, I'm sure. But yeah, hopefully the vendor partner knows their business and knows our business and has crafted something for us. Because as you said on the last podcast, we like to be the kind of the belle of the ball and have a little bit of attention sprinkled on us because we're going to spend a lot of money.
Right.
You if anybody's been to a high-end car dealership, if they don't treat you like you're really important, are you likely to spend money on buying, a high-end car? Probably not. So treating people like what the value of that contract is, and if it's $1 million, treat us like we're $1 million, or treat the potential customer like they're $1 million, goes a long way. And really knowing who your customer is and putting that nice touch on your presentation that's very specific to us, the customer.
Yeah, interesting enough, I've asked them can you send your PowerPoint even ahead of time?
Yeah.
So I can take a look at it and see what's going on. And then they could kind of cover, and I'll tell them, please do me a favor, let's be succinct when we answer our questions, right? Because we have a lot of questions to go. We want to learn a lot about you. So, don't ramble on. And I'll take off a point or something, Scotty, to be honest with you. If the answer is just verbose and, it doesn't really get to the end, it doesn't get me to where I need it, I'll take off a point. But listen, so for me, it's like that. I let them know, hey, remember, you already sent me the PowerPoint, so I had a look at it. So kind of just give me the overview of what you're trying to do, right? And thank you for your 97-page PowerPoint. I truly appreciate that. But let's just kind of cover that and
cut it down. Yeah,
cut it down.
One thing I'll say too is it's going to be interesting. We're both from Gen X. And a lot of our vendor partners are from other generations, some older, like baby boomer generation, and some younger, like millennial generation. We have a lot of young security leaders now in-house.
Right.
And just knowing that, hey, maybe somebody from a different generation doesn't want to sit there for 2 hours and listen to you talk about how great you are. Maybe they want a 15-minute or a 30-minute briefing. So that they can get on to what they have going on in life. So being aware of those things, I think, is important too from our vendor partners that, if to your point, share with me ahead of time what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So I can steer you in the right or wrong direction, because the most important thing is everything's fair.
Right.
Because companies get sued over procurement processes that don't appear fair. And nobody wants to get sued for, $10 million because they perceive that it wasn't a fair process and that it was rigged. By the way, bid rigging is a crime. It is fraud. And I can imagine most companies would fire somebody for that. So from the investigator in the room, that's my thing. I love it when I hear about bid rigging, because that's kind of one of my favorite things to talk about, but that can get you into trouble. So if you have a relationship, also sharing numbers or giving a advantage to one vendor over another, that's all fraudulent. So to avoid any kind of improprieties, make it as fair as possible,
Right.
ask everybody the same questions. And if somebody goes, hey, here, we are presenting a 1 hour presentation, is that going to work? Say, no, this is what we're looking for. Be prescriptive.
Yeah.
And really nail them down.
It's funny that you said that. There's been a couple of friends, like I said, I know a lot of the vendors that, once you start the RFP process, you literally tell them, hey, stop calling me.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
Let's get through the RFP process. All right, let's get this out of the way and let's go. Just, again, keep yourself out of trouble. I think that's the way to go, because you don't want to seem like you're choosing one company over the other. And by the way, just like Scotty, we covered on another podcast, man, about not hiring your friends, right? Look, literally hire the best security company that's going to fulfill all your goals and your needs of the program that you're trying to build, right? So, and most importantly, in the keeping yourself out of trouble game, don't ever take freaking money from anybody.
Thank you.
You look right directly from the camera. Don't ever take money from anybody, right? Trust me on this. You don't want to do it. It's a bad thing. Keep yourself out of trouble, and that's the way to go.
And this has happened time and time again. We know security leaders that have been involved in improprieties and looked really bad, and their name is ruined. All we have in this game is who we are and what our name is, and those who kind of do those nefarious things. Look, somebody's going to find out eventually. Somebody's going to make a complaint through human resources, or make a complaint through the whistleblower hotline for your company if they think something happened. And by the way, then they have to somebody has to investigate that.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen where a security leader came from the vendor, and then they hired their vendor in to be the vendor for the company without kind of doing their due diligence and a fair onboarding process or RFP process anyways. So that makes it look really bad for the rest of us in this industry, when it's like, oh, well, the game is rigged. And we can't have that. We have to have as fair process as possible, especially if you're a publicly traded company. More so if you're in a publicly traded company, because you don't want the Department of Justice breathing down your neck because of some multi-million-dollar procurement process that went awry.
Yeah.
That's happened. I can't think of one where it's happened specifically for a security contract, but it's definitely happened for big contracts, and people have lost their jobs and gone to jail because of it. So the pitfalls, and sometimes innocent, hey, look, they just bought me, I had a vendor, by the way, that we were not in the procurement process. They were already currently a vendor, but every Christmas they would send like a candy bouquet thing, really nicely done. And I would receive it. Thank you. Take it over to the GSOC, put it in the briefing room for the officers. Hey, look, our vendor, they gave us all.
Oh God, we should talk about, maybe one of the podcasts is designing policies and how to deal with vendors, right? What gifts are gifts, what entertainment is entertainment, how much you can receive, how much you can give. But that's another good one for us to think about, Scotty. God, you're a genius, my friend. You're a genius.
We're just going to cover every pitfall for corporate security professionals.
Yeah, I agree. But we got about a minute left. So here's the thing. You're gonna choose a company, and you're gonna get a couple of companies that are gonna get the old Dear John relationship letter. Dear John, our relationship is over, and that's okay. Make sure you send the Dear John letters first, and then send out the email to the winning company of your contract, right? And then you let the fun begin. That relationship should be great, and it's going to work out well. You never know once they accept and agree on the other side, the onboarding process, where it's going to be. And of course, and we're going to talk about all this other stuff. The master statement of work comes in, and all of a sudden, how the relationship is going to work together, right? KPIs and SLAs, and how we're going to do business together as partners. All of that will come. And I don't know, Scotty, we're going to have to break that into another podcast.
Just KPIs and SLAs is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, another podcast. So we'll go into that stuff on the next one. Once again, thank you everybody for spending a little time with Scott and I. We were always excited to share a little bit of our knowledge, what we have. And look, if you have any feedback or anything, like Scott said, you want to send out a topic that you want to come in. You come on the show, that you want to talk about it with us. Let's do it. Three is always a party. And I think Scott and I are always open to a good party and a good conversation. Right, Scotty?
That's right. We're looking forward to having you in the security theater.
That's it. Take care. See ya. The views expressed in this podcast stems from our passion for the security industry and for the physical security operations. They do not necessarily reflect the views of our employers.